What's up, guys? It's Zero here, bringing you all a brand new Gears of War E-Day video. So let's get into it. So guys, what I want to talk about is an interesting article that came out from Times of India, and they were talking about things that we can expect from Gears of War E-Days, you know, PvP modes, classic PvP modes, things of that nature, assuming that we're going to be getting multiplayer in Gears of War E-Day, which according to, you know, a lot of the developers over at the Coalition and some of the recent interviews that we've heard, it sounds like Gears of War E-Day is not going to stray really far away from what's made the series so great in the first place in terms of modes and things of that nature. So taking that somewhat with a grain of salt, what that tells us and what that tells me is that Gears of War E-Day is going to have the three core modes, right? Like it does in all these other Gears of War titles, that being a campaign, multiplayer modes, co-op modes. So it's probably going to have multiple different types of multiplayer modes, multiple different, you know, co-op modes, maybe just horde mode, maybe beast mode, maybe hive busters, you know, but certainly probably horde mode. And then of course your campaign, whether it's single player or co-op campaign. And so it leads us to a really interesting, you know, question about, okay, if we assume that there's going to be multiplayer, what would that encompass? Obviously, guys, my favorite new game mode to play as well as watch from an esports perspective was escalation within Gears of War. And that was Gears of War 4 when that came out. I absolutely loved escalation. I loved watching it from a player perspective, like watching the pros play it. I loved escalation. I love execution. Team deathmatch, of course, is a classic mode. I am always down to see new modes being added, like escalation. Well, a prime example, I believe it was like one of the best new modes that I had seen at the time enter into the esports atmosphere. I loved the concept of escalation. I thought it was really great. Execution is certainly the easiest one to understand from a viewer perspective, but escalation I absolutely loved. And so I would certainly want to see new modes come in with Gears of War E-Day, but some of the existing ones definitely need to stay. So with that being said, guys, in this article that came out from Times of India, Gears of War E-Day, slated for release between 2025 and 2026, will explore the pivotal Emergence Day, blending dark narrative with classic PvP modes like Team Deathmatch. The game promises nostalgic yet innovative multiplayer combat with iconic weapons and mechanics. Fans eagerly await further details at the Xbox Showcase. Obviously, guys, the Xbox Game Showcase, we're probably going to find out mostly things and details about Gears of War Reloaded, because that's going to be coming out in August. You know, it's only a couple of months away. Could we get a snippet of information about Gears of War E-Day, like a release date trailer or something of that nature? I think we could certainly get something like that. But I think the heavy emphasis this year is on Gears of War Reloaded. I believe next Xbox Game Showcase in 2026, they will have a Gears of War E-Day Direct associated with the Xbox Game Showcase. So I think next year is when we're going to be seeing everything about Gears of War E-Day, but I think we might be able to get a little bit of some information. I'm hoping that we get a lot of information about Gears of War E-Day, but I think there's going to be a heavier emphasis on Gears of War Reloaded. The Gears of War franchise's upcoming second shot, Gears of War E-Day, has been anticipated for a while, and fans are excited to get into one crumple of narrative storytelling and even one of its bulging multiplayer earning modes. Slated for a possible launch sometime in the year 2025, but definitely sometime in 2026, Gears of War E-Day takes players through one of the darkest and most pivotal moments in the history of the franchise, Emergence Day. This day saw the devastating emergence of the Locust horde out of the bowels of Sarah and the beginning of humanity's fight for survival against their kind. And so, you know, it's interesting, guys. You know, a lot of people have been saying that, oh, Gears of War E-Day is going to come out in 2025. I would be shocked if it came out in 2025. I really would. Now, could it? Certainly, guys. But I feel like they want to release Gears of War Reloaded, kind of quench our thirst at being Xbox's, you know, player base thirst for Gears of War E-Day, gets PlayStation players an opportunity to play the game. really get immersed into, Gears of War Reloaded, the lore, all of those things. And then you give it a year, they can really ramp up marketing going into 2026 for Gears of War E-Day. I believe like a Halloween 2026 release is what I'm thinking. Could they release it Halloween of 2025 because there's no longer any GTA 6 to compete with? I mean, they certainly could. I just think, them releasing Reloaded this year, taking their time, bringing out Gears of War E-Day when it's fully ready to go in 2026 makes a lot of sense to me, but we'll have to wait and see on that. While nothing of this sort could ever come to pass with the stories of E-Day set to rampage the very roots of the series, it's the player versus player venue of E-Day that must also pack in the series' dormant hopes of excitement. Historically, Gears of War has been recognized for its visceral, fast-paced combat mixing cover-based shooting with brutal close quarters engagements. The game perspective is expected to regain that prominence through abundant emphasis on the old school modes and mechanics that have been associated with the Gears franchise's rise to multiplayer glory. Early rumors indicate that the E-Day PvP will return with a vengeance and present modes such as fans' favorite Team Deathmatch and King of the Hill. These staples will extend with a gentle tweak, giving both veterans and newbies an experience that is comfortable but thrilling. What's more, everyone should expect traditional weapons to do their thing in multiplayer, with everyone's favorite Lancer, Gnasher, and other honorable mentions making their own contributions to some of the most signature brutalization reminiscent of the franchise. The inclusion of these weapons is bound to offer some nostalgic yet polished territory for the series' most popular mechanics. And I agree. I mean, I think, look, if there's certain mechanics, certain weapons, characters that are working, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Like, I think you certainly want to bring back those nostalgic feels from Gears of War's past, but you also want to introduce new weapons, new characters, things of that nature. I think new types of enemies. I always think those are really important things. If you just kind of rinse and repeat the same maps, the same weapons consistently over time, it starts to get old, right? And I think that Gears of War could do really well bringing back, of course, Marcus and Dom, the two most well-known characters within the franchise. Putting them back in the spotlight is massive. But on top of that, I think bringing classic weapons, but also introducing new weapons, classic enemies, but with new enemies, classic maps, but bring new maps as well. I think there's a healthy balance that you can have of old school stuff, but also integrating new things into it. I think that's going to be huge. The details concerning E-Day's multiplayer aspect remain somewhat scarce and open for speculation. Fans are willing to know whether it would be a new mode for the game or whether it would preserve the classic gameplay yet with unique twists. While much of this is under wraps, there is an expectation that E-Day will revert to the old school Gears PvP way and may also include new features to keep that competitive scene vibrant. I agree. The thing I want, though, guys, is I want to see, like I mentioned earlier, escalation, more like innovation like escalation, right? I would love to see more modes added like that. You bring back some of the classic game modes, but keep adding, keep innovating. I think that escalation was the most innovative thing that the Coalition has really done. I mean, you could certainly argue like the semi-open world within Gears 5, that was pretty innovative, but at the same time, I don't think it landed very well, at least for me. I didn't really like the semi-open or open world feel to a Gears of War title. I like the more linear, dark, gritty kind of elements, but they've tried things, and so I want them to continue trying different things, especially with something like E-Day. I think it would be great. I think at the end of the day, guys, there needs to be a healthy balance between like new modes and old school modes, right? Once again, kind of like with the characters, the enemies, the maps, all these different things, I think are really, really important when you look at Gears of War E-Day as a full package deal, from the campaign to the multiplayer to the co-op modes, having some new things integrated as well as, things that have been a part of Gears of War from the very beginning. And so I'm really excited to see what E-Day all encompasses. Maybe we'll find out more information at the Xbox Game Showcase. Fingers crossed, guys, that we get at least a release date for Gears of War E-Day and maybe, get a little bit of some gameplay, a look at what the gameplay looks like and things of that nature. I'm really excited, guys. It's a great time to be a Gears of War fan, and I cannot wait to share more of that information with all of you as it comes out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about just the multiplayer as a whole from, Gears of War E-Day. What are the things that you guys want to see return to Gears of War, in terms of from a multiplayer perspective in E-Day, as well as like campaign or multiplayer co-op modes? What do you guys want to see? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War E-Day content and videos, keep it right here.